Rome had seen cruelty before, but nothing prepared the city for what happened after Nero's wife died. Her name was Poppaea Sabina, the one woman Nero adored, and when she was gone, a hole opened inside him, a hole he tried to fill with obsession. For months, he searched the empire for a face that reminded him of her. Not a lover, not a woman, just someone who looked like the ghost he couldn't forget. And then he saw him, a boy named Sporus. Soft features, quiet eyes, skin still untouched by the harshness of life. He couldn't have been more than 14. Sporus didn't know why the emperor's guards stared at him. He didn't know why whispers followed him through the market. He didn't know why his mother told him to lower his gaze whenever men in purple cloaks walked by. But he was about to learn something brutal, that in Rome, beauty was dangerous, and being noticed by Nero was a death sentence wrapped in silk. It didn't matter that Sporus was a boy. It didn't matter that he was terrified. To Nero, he was nothing but a mirror, reflecting the woman he had lost. And mirrors, in the hands of broken men, become instruments of violence. That night, Nero made a decision, one that would shatter Sporus's life and turn a vulnerable child into the emperor's living replacement for the wife he could not resurrect. Sporus went to sleep that night thinking the world was ordinary, thinking the shadows outside his window belonged to stray cats or tired workers returning home. He didn't know emperors could reach into a nobody's home with nothing but desire. He didn't know grief could turn into a weapon. The first knock was loud enough to shake the walls. The second, enough to silence the entire street. Only men with power knocked like that. Sporus's mother rushed to hide him, pulling him behind her, her hands trembling so badly she couldn't tie her cloak. But it was already too late. The emperor's guards stepped inside without permission. No need for it. Nero's shadow was permission enough. Sporus had never seen soldiers look at him that way. Not with desire, not with cruelty, with calculation, as if he were an object, a solution to a problem only Nero understood. "By order of Caesar," one guard said, his voice heavy and uninterested. "The boy comes with us." His mother fell to her knees, begging, crying, promising the gods anything. But Rome had no gods for boys like Sporus, only emperors. The guards pried him from her arms, gently, almost respectfully, as if they already knew he wasn't being taken to die, only to lose everything that made him living. Sporus didn't fight, not because he wasn't afraid, but because he was too afraid. And as the door closed behind him, the last piece of his childhood closed with it. He didn't know where they were taking him, but he knew this: boys didn't get summoned to the palace at night for anything good. And deep inside, in the trembling space between fear and numbness, he sensed the truth. Whatever awaited him would not be survival. It would be transformation, a kind he could never undo. They brought Sporus to the palace, not as a prisoner, but as a replacement. Nero's wife, Poppaea, the one he had adored, obsessed over, had died months earlier. And Rome still whispered that Nero himself struck the blow that ended her life. But emperors do not live with guilt. They bury it, they recreate it, they rewrite it. And now Sporus would become Nero's rewrite. Sporus was dressed in silk, not because he was special, but because Nero needed him to be someone else. The servants combed his hair, powdered his face, placed a veil over his head. Every movement gentle, every purpose cruel. Sporus watched himself in a polished bronze mirror, but the reflection wasn't a boy anymore. It was an imitation, a ghost of the woman Nero lost. And though he didn't have the words for it, he felt something collapse inside him, something small, something sacred. Nero entered with the calm confidence of a man who believed the world existed to fulfill his grief. He looked at Sporus with frightening approval. Not affection, not cruelty, just recognition, as if the boy were clay and Nero the sculptor who could form him into anything, even a dead wife. Sporus stood still because what else could a boy do when the emperor's gaze consumed him? Then the wedding began. Yes, a wedding. A Roman emperor married a child in a ceremony wrapped in gold, incense, and the lie that Sporus had a choice. When Nero placed a ring on his finger, Sporus didn't feel like a spouse. He felt like a memory being forced back to life. He became Poppaea's shadow, a living stand-in for a dead woman, a symbol of guilt reshaped into possession. And as the crowd applauded, Sporus lowered his eyes. Everyone celebrated the emperor's love. No one mourned the boy who disappeared beneath the veil, because that night wasn't a wedding. It was the burial of whoever Sporus used to be.
After the wedding, the world expected Sporus to become a bride, and Nero intended to make sure he did. But Sporus was not a bride. He was a boy. A frightened, fragile boy who kept waking up from nightmares, only to find that reality was worse. Nero began to remake him, not with kindness, not with affection, but with expectation. He ordered new clothing, robes meant for an empress, soft fabrics that swallowed the boy's thin shoulders. Servants braided his hair, layered his skin in makeup, and whispered Poppaea's name as though Sporus were her reincarnation. Imagine being a child and having your very body rewritten to please someone else. Sporus watched the transformation happen, one small humiliation at a time. He wasn't asked, he was instructed. He wasn't invited, he was placed. He wasn't loved, he was replaced. And somewhere, deep inside, in a place no one else could see, the boy began to fold into himself, trying to hold on to the last pieces of who he used to be. But Nero wasn't done. Nero wanted the illusion perfect. The gestures, the tone of voice, the way Sporus walked beside him. Every day, the emperor demanded a little more of the boy's identity, a little more of his innocence, a little more of his soul. And Sporus learned to survive the only way he could, by becoming smaller, quieter, invisible inside his own skin. History talks about Nero's madness. History talks about his cruelty. But history rarely speaks of the boy who bore the weight of both. A boy forced to play a role written by a grieving tyrant. A boy transformed into someone he never chose to be. In that palace, Sporus lost his voice, long before he lost anything else. Inside the palace, Sporus was reshaped, but outside, Rome was waiting to see the new empress. And Nero was eager to show the world what he had created. Sporus was led from his chambers like a lamb being guided towards spectacle. Gold jewelry weighed down his wrists. A veil covered half his face. Everything Nero chose was designed to erase the boy underneath. He wasn't allowed to walk as himself.
He had to walk as her. Poppaea, the woman Nero had lost, the woman Sporus was forced to replace. When he finally stepped outside, the sunlight hit him like a spotlight, sharp, merciless, exposing every fear. Rome stared. Some gasped, some laughed, some turned away in uncomfortable silence, because even they, even a society hardened by blood sport, could see something was terribly wrong. And Nero? He smiled, proud, triumphant, as if he had resurrected his lost wife. He paraded Sporus through the forum, hand in hand, forcing the boy to endure the weight of 1,000 eyes, judging a role he never agreed to play. Imagine being 15, then 14, then 13, whatever age he truly was, and having an emperor present you not as a person, but as a replacement. No one came to help him. No one dared. He learned something that day. In Rome, power could shape truth, and he was living proof. That public display wasn't a ceremony. It was a warning. It told Rome and Nero could bend reality. It told Sporus that his suffering was not private anymore. It belonged to the empire. And it told the world that the most terrifying thing about Nero was not his rage, but his grief twisted into obsession. Because the boy beside him, dressed in gold and silence, was not his empress. He was a survivor, trapped in a role written by love warped into cruelty.
In the end, the person she trusted most was the one who shattered her completely. It didn't happen slowly. It wasn't the kind of pain you feel coming from miles away. It was sudden, a truth dropped like a blade, cutting through every promise she once held close to her heart. One moment, she was safe. The next, her entire world tilted off its axis. And standing in that silence, in that brutal, breath-stealing silence, she realized something devastating. Some heartbreaks don't teach you anything. They don't make you stronger. They don't shape you into someone wiser. Some heartbreaks are just endings, and they take a part of you with them when they leave.